Hello everyone and welcome to the Tom Colohue channel, where today we are watching Smackdown. It is a Smackdown watch party where we actually get for 2 weeks in a row Roman Reigns. Of course, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso currently undergoing probably the hottest feud in wrestling, to be quite clear with you, given the history of the bloodline is finally coming to fruition, and it's Jey Uso who's getting the big moment, as you might expect if you've been following the bloodline story. Also announced, we are likely to see more between Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar as we try to work out what's going on with the United States Championship. Other than that, business as usual. Nothing particularly standing out for it, because it's not a automatic world beater of a show. It is very much a Smackdown that could go either way, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We've had some good Smackdowns recently, we've had some bad Smackdowns recently. At the moment, honestly, I'd just be happy to have a Smackdown. Sean says hello, Tom. Chris also says howdy, Tom. Hello, guys, good to see you. And on the YouTube side, quite a few people already in. We have Joe, we have Peter, we have Airwolf, we have Gomar, and we have Leon. Hello, everyone, how are we doing? Gomar saying hello. Joe is fired up for Smackdown. Leon is saying hi, Tom, hope you're doing well. We are in New Orleans, which, if you're going to go for hometowns and the like, surely you'd think of a Bray Wyatt hotspot. Hello, Brad, how you doing? Okay, so we're opening by hyping up the main event, Jey Uso. This means likely Bloodline are starting and finishing the show. Jey Uso once again rocking the real chief. We do have a Roman in town. He has been announced as there. Tom says, what up, Tom and chat? Don't forget to hit the like button. We're forwards for you. Nobody ready for Asuka. We do currently have 9 likes to 12 viewers, so please do remember as you come in to hit the like button. Megan's here as well, saying hello, and Chris says, nice little pop for Jay. They are essentially trying to work out if his catchphrases are over. Getting a good reception so far. Though there seems to be a lot more excitement for Roman in the crowd. They definitely focused on people who were just very hyped to see Roman. That did not work out well for Jay in the long run. Jay already looking downtrodden. But it's an important point for Roman that he will not let Jay have his moment. Jay is not allowed to be celebrated. That's the character. That's who we're dealing with. Bailey says cage side seats suggest that Roman's possible loss is tied to moving to a new network for WWE Smackdown. Has there been any talks about the contract? There has been some talks about the contract, but nothing connected to Roman Reigns in any way. Nothing at all. Fox admittedly always want to make sure Roman's on the show, but any new network would automatically also want as much Roman as possible. Essentially, wherever they are, the top stars have got to be featured. I feel it's worth noting that we are only seeing one championship belt for the first time in a long time. Paul Heyman not carrying any championships. Just the one worn by Roman, and of course the beads to represent head of the table and tribal chief. James says, hey Tom. Hello James, how you doing? Leon says, surprised this wasn't the main event. Well, it depends what they got planned for the main event. The main event, I'd imagine, is going to be Escobar versus Rey Mysterio. Thomas says, hi Tom. Sorry I missed spoiler warning earlier. We went to see Insidious, The Red Door. Did catch up on spoiler warning and it was very good. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate that, mate. I know it's not necessarily the most enjoyable watch when I'm not live. I'm trying to work on that and we'll see how it goes. Joe says, I think Jay will do it next Sunday at Summerslam. I don't. Sean says, I saw a video of Alexa and her husband from July 19th. In that interview, Alexa was asked if she misses WWE while she's been away. She said, yes, she does miss it. She does miss it. And she misses the competitive aspect of it and being in front of a crowd. Yeah, even if she doesn't, she would never say so. James says, who do you think will win, Rey or Santos? Santos. No question for me. As fun as it would be to see Rey take on Austin Theory, and as much more likely as it is for Rey Mysterio to win, you eventually have to push new people. Santos Escobar's right there. You might as well give him the bit. Let him have a chance at it. See how he can go. Goldmaster says, still not convinced Jay will be the one to win and don't think it will be. And Eric says, Tom, it looks like Liv is going to be gone for the year. What's your source on that one, Eric? What's your source? Now, we have obviously got people saying whether or not they think Jay will pick up the win. We have plenty more people in this chat, so tell me, do you think Jey Uso will dethrone Roman Reigns? Can you see main event Jey Uso become the undisputed champion in just 2 weeks? Tell me in the chat. James says, I think it'll be stupid if Rey wins. I enjoy Santos. They need to move on from the past. It is important that you move on and celebrate the future while still also celebrating the past. So I like that Rey Mysterio is in the match with him, and I think it's good for both of them. Chris says, I don't see it happening, but I think it would be cool if Jey won the title. To kind of bookend the entire Bloodline story. I agree with that one. I think the story that we were told at the beginning of the Bloodline was that Jey Uso had to be the guy. However, the story has evolved over time. And I think ultimately, right now, Solo's got to be the guy. Bailey says, why hasn't AEW announced the card for Wembley? Or since the tickets have been sold, there's no urgency. AEW never announces their cards early. They always announce the matches very late in the day. And lately, the storylines do not really tell you what's going to happen. Sean says, if Jey does win, I see it being a DQ. Gomez says, I've already read that one. Joe says he's got to do it, which is absolutely not true. Brad agrees, says absolutely not. Leon says, yes, because remember, Tom, everything is on the table. Everything is on the table. A big chant for Jey Uso. Roman just sort of letting it happen. Rightly so, before he gets the microphone. Bailey does not believe Jey is going to dethrone Roman. Chris says Roman's first defense was against Jey, which is absolutely correct. Everyone forgets the actual match they had before we got in a cell. Jack says Roman will leave SummerSlam still the champ. Thomas says personally no. I can't think it will be Solo is the one. Eric mentioning that Rey still has beef with Theory for Survivor Series 21. Megan says I can see Jey getting a visible pinfall, but it won't count because of a ref bump and or other shenanigans. There's one thing you can guarantee with Roman Reigns recently is ref bumps. Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa clearing some space for Jey Uso to move into. Joe says the reason I think it will happen is Jey has got the upper hand. In what way? Roman is not only a seasoned champion with much more experience as champion, he also has Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa and a history of winning matches. Jey does not have that. James says, I ain't gonna lie, some of Jey's and Roman's family comes out during SummerSlam but Roman wins. I ain't gonna be disappointed. Eric, that is a completely different person than what you said. Completely different person. Interesting camera angle there over the shoulders of Roman. Apparently if Roman's scheduled, he opens the show. Maybe he'll be the first match at SummerSlam. I doubt it. So essentially the story that Roman's telling here is that he made Jey Uso. That's not untrue. The initial opportunity that Jey Uso got was actually largely because of Sheamus. Less remembered that. Sheamus attacking Big E and taking Big E out of the match. A match that also, I believe, included Matt Riddle as a fatal four-way. Jey Uso would be parachuted in and pick up the win. I'm a little annoyed that right between the two of them there's a woman who's literally just filming it all. Who's not in the moment whatsoever. Who's just recording. I feel like this is the same thing we always hear from Roman. Nothing particularly new here. Sean says, I wish there would be one Roman match where there isn't a ref bump. There are plenty of Roman matches that don't have a ref bump. Sean says, if Roman did open SummerSlam, who would main event? Seth and Finn. Which to me would very much suggest Damian Priest is about to do something big. Jey Uso essentially saying he doesn't want to be main event. SummerSlam's going to be disappointed. Megan says this is already worse than last week because no one has bluey balloons. No bluey. What's the point? Eric says Logan versus Ricochet should open SummerSlam, which I've mentioned several times is very likely. And Peach says, I think me v Tom should open SummerSlam. You ready for it, mate? You ready? Bring your bike. It could be your entrance. Cycling down around the ring like The Undertaker, but worse. Jey Uso always makes a point of celebrating Roman. It's not a bad thing. Leon says, what SummerSlam match are you most looking forward to? For me, it's Gunter versus Drew. I'm really excited for the women's triple threat. Asuka versus Bianca versus Charlotte. I think the talent in that ring, it's going to be amazing. Drew versus Gunter will definitely be a lot of fun as well. Roman naturally is going to try and defend himself here, but I don't think he really has a leg to stand on. It's his bloodline, it's his responsibility. Sean, that's correct. Logan Paul is looking to open SummerSlam so he can get to a fight with Jake Paul later in the night. The WWE aren't necessarily against that because it means no matter what channel you're watching, you're probably going to see one of theirs. Roman trying to paint Jey as selfish here. Jimmy Uso was injured, of course. Bit of history there. Ancient history, but history nonetheless. It is getting a bit repetitive, this. I kind of wish Roman wasn't here this week, but they want to guarantee the ratings going into SummerSlam. James says Cody versus Brock needs a stipulation. I don't disagree, but they need to hurry up and do it. James says Logan said he will still wear his gear at Jake's fight, so it's good marketing for WWE. Yeah, the conversations have already taken place. It's good stuff. There's a reason that they had the 24/7 championship on the shoulder of Bad Bunny on SNL, you know? They know what they're doing. Fair enough, Peter. I kind of get that. Leon says, I just saw someone with a Hook t-shirt in the crowd. Yeah, you're allowed to wear what you want. There was all that drama way back when about, oh, WWE is stopping people from wearing AEW shirts. They weren't. They stopped people wearing Dave Meltzer stuff. Chris says, is Jimmy off selling an injury? Yes, he is. The idea is Jay is supposed to be standing alone. Whereas, obviously, the Tribal Chief has plenty of backup. Hey, Jaden, how you doing, mate? Sean says, if Cody had one at WrestleMania, would we be seeing Roman right now? Ifs and buts. It didn't happen, so I can't tell you what the plan was because the plan was for Roman to win. Okay, they're putting context into the tribal combat. They're introducing this concept to introduce the concept of taking away the right of tribal chief. It's not just about a championship anymore. But Jay's not the one. Jay's not a tribal chief in waiting. The tribal chief in waiting is in the ring, though. Bailey says, Ringside News reported another Matt Riddle video out there. Does this kind of past behaviour affect him backstage? No, not really. Vince is a fan. That's all he needs. Tom says, what match do you think will be the best one at SummerSlam? Yeah, the triple threat for me, definitely. James says, Logan is a master of marketing and WWE is the same as well. They're a good match together. I agree. I absolutely agree. Logan Paul's time in the WWE has been fantastic so far. The man knows how to entertain, and ultimately in wrestling, that's your job. Leon says it feels too repetitive for me. I feel like they've done this promo 5 times. They have. That's the downside of a championship reign this long. You're just repeating yourself. Now, Jay, of course, can celebrate the fact that he has pinned Roman. It's not quite the same thing. You're not the only one to do it. This incarnation, yes. Bit rude to Baron Corbin. I don't think that's the hotline they think. I've beat you. And I'm going to beat you again. It's not the hotline you'd think it is. Jay Luna, little dance, is back to solo there. Brave. Hyping up the crowd. Naturally, the WWE are really keeping an eye on the crowd for this because if they're hot behind the Usos, the WWE will be. As a crowd, as an audience, as fans, we have a responsibility to our favourites. if we don't think they're getting what they deserve, we got to make it known. We got to tell the WWE, hey, you need to get Mercedes back if you're a Mercedes fan. We got to tell the WWE, hey, you got to push Sami Zayn. Plenty more on that one. We're about and Michael Cole having their little intro. I'd imagine there's about to be someone heading down to the ring, and of course we'll then move on to commercial break. But as we've had our opening promo now, what do we think? I've shared my opinion. I agree with Leon. It's kind of repetitive. Jey Uso looks really good here, but ultimately he is just one man, and Roman has said a whole load of stuff. Oh, well, already it seems building towards the United States Championship match. So what do you think? Give it a mark out of 10. What did you make of that segment? Because as opening segments go, it was good, but it wasn't great. It was what you'd expect from Roman Reigns, but it wasn't exactly something I'd call, ground shaking. It hasn't set me up thinking this is going to be a great SmackDown, even though I do feel there's enough going on here that it should be. Leon gives it a 6, Peter a 4, Thomas a 7, Eric gives it a 5, Don gives it a 6. Gomar says that line is going to age horribly. I think it might. Bailey gives it a 5, Brad gives it a 6, Jack giving it a 7, pardon me, as well. Megan gives it a 6, says a good delivery, we've heard a lot of it before. Chris says, where do they go with Jimmy and Jey after this feud? Back to a tag team, I feel. I feel they just separate them and have them work with people like Street Profits. Sean says, did you celebrate Triple H's birthday yesterday? I did not, because I'm not personally Triple H. I also don't know him personally, so how would I celebrate? Bit weird. James says, watching 20 years, Roman comes back to take back the name of the Tribal Chief. I've mentioned it before. Solo Sikoa as Tribal Chief of a team that involves the Guerrillas of Destiny is where we're heading for me. Chris says, I like the heat from the feud as a whole, but that promo did fall flat. 4 out of 10. Oof. Oof. Then some tense little moments right there. 4 out of 10. If you're just joining us, we have just watched a promo featuring Roman Reigns stepping up, as always, to Jey Uso. We are rating it out of 10. Let me know what you thought. We are now in the build-up to Santos Escobar versus Rey Mysterio. It will not main event. It is, in fact, our opening match. Rey Mysterio guaranteed to get a pop, and then we'll undoubtedly head to commercial break. James says, I think it's just too repetitive. Also says, ain't gonna lie, I see Zilla Fatu joining Solo in the future. Eric says, in my personal opinion, Jey would be nowhere without Roman. I don't think that's true in any way, shape or form. Jey without Roman still ended up in a great feud between Usos and New Day that really put them on the map. Jey is very talented on his own, but certainly main event Uso, not without Roman Reigns. So we're opening hot. This match should be very fun. Gomar giving it a 6 by the by. This match should be very fun, very high-pitched, and it is starting to feel a bit like WCW on the SmackDown side. Rey Mysterio, of course, a former World Heavyweight Champion. I can't remember the year, though, but he won a Royal Rumble. He was pushed. Noah Gaming says, do you think Randy will cost Brock? No. I don't see why that would happen. Sai says, morning all, hope everyone's good. Morning, Sai, how are you? It is, of course, nearly 20 past 1 in the morning here in the UK. I do apologise if at any point I yawn, I can't help it. Leon says, Hall of Fame induction, this is as regards Rey. An amazing feud and match with Dominic, it was absolutely fantastic. Reforming the LWO and what's about to be a fun match with Santos, this has been one of the best years of Rey's career, in my opinion. And I do feel you get that. Every now and then, regardless of your position on the card, regardless of how long you've been involved, you just have a great year and a great run. Sami Zayn, for example, last year was an incredible year for Sami Zayn. The year before, I don't think he won a match. Not great. Gomar says he won the 06 Rumble, I believe. Thank you, Gomar. Thomas says, very much looking forward to this match. I think Santos will win and be the one to take the title off Theory. Eric says, do you think we see LA Knight tonight? Yes, I do. Noah hopes Jey beats Roman, and James also confirming it was the 06 Royal Rumble. Chris says, my cable went out. Thank God I'm here to listen to what's happening on the show. Well, you'll get plenty of information there. We'll try and keep you abreast of the situation. Bailey says it's in superb shape, but at 46, how many years does Brock Lesnar have left in WWE? At least 4. At least 4. With this being our opening match, I do want to take the opportunity to ask right now, who do you think will pick up the win? Rey Mysterio or Santos Escobar? The winner goes on to face Austin Theory for the United States Championship, but who do you think is the one to get that opportunity? Rey Mysterio has an opportunity to basically really put Santos Escobar on the map here and really show that he is a force to be reckoned with. I personally would love to see it, but who do you have picking up the win? While you're giving your options there, I do want to say, as per usual, we currently have 14 likes and 27 viewers. One more like gets us to 15, which is a milestone, and you know how I love my milestones. Please be the one who hits that like. We are also currently on 2,555 subscribers. If you're interested in more content like this, please do remember to hit subscribe. Thomas says, my stream is freezing. Is it just me? Let me know if anyone else is experiencing that. My software isn't suggesting it, but so far so good. Let me know if you've got that problem. Jack says Santos. Believes Santos will pick up the win. Eric says, is it just me, or has Sammy really cooled off with the fans? Sammy has not cooled off with the fans, but a lot of the attention has moved to Jey Uso. Wrestling is cyclical. Brad says Santos. Bailey says Santos. Gomar says Santos as well. Dominic says Rey. Then Santos turns heel and attacks him. I don't necessarily see that, but it would certainly set the cat amongst the pigeons. Eric says Santos. James thinks Santos buys some crazy moves. You know there's going to be some crazy moves in here. Thank you, whoever it was, to give me my 15th like. Thank you very kindly. If it was you, speak up. James says, how's the channel growth going, Tom? We had more than 70 new subscribers so far this month, which is a very good number and really shows how far we've come over the last few months. We did, after Paris, drop off a little bit and went down to about 20 a month. We've recovered hard this month. Chris says, I love Rey, but I think Santos takes it. However, at the same time, it would be a nice rub for Theory if he beats Rey. It absolutely would. Jack says, Rey Mysterio draws number 2 in the Royal Rumble 2006 match. Remarkably, lasts over 60 minutes to triumph over Randy Orton. And thank you guys, Airwolf, Leon, Sai, saying there is no freeze on their side. Appreciate that. Khalid is here. You alright, mate? Says, hey, Tom, mate. Hope you are well. Doing very well, thank you, and hope you are as well. And Brad says, nope, you're all good. Thomas says, Santos will be the one. Santos for me. I definitely think Santos is the right choice. I don't know for certain that Santos is going to be the choice, but I really hope he is. I think he is the right choice. Santos wrestling against Austin Theory, particularly for the United States Championship when we have a Latino world order taking over. I'd be pretty happy with that, and I do think that's an automatic storyline involved. You can get a lot of grumpy heels who are saying, no, we're American. That championship needs to be held by an American. And then it's just very accurate for the world we live in at the moment. And also disappointing. Leon says Jey versus Waller. Jey Mysterio. Jey Uso has just run into Grayson Waller backstage. Khalid says, I'm good, my friend. Nice to know, mate. Gomar thinks heel Rey will probably never happen. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Santos Escobar as heel makes a lot more sense. 456, how you doing? Says hello to all. This should be a good SummerSlam. I'm excited for it as well. Grayson Waller just got punched in the face by Jey Uso. I guess that may well be our main event. Grayson Waller getting another Smackdown main event. Bismo says, good evening, Tom. Having a cherry coke in your honour. Glad to hear it, mate. Glad to hear it. Sean says, I think after he loses the US title, WWE should cool down on Austin Theory until they're ready to push him into the main event scene. If that happens, what will happen is Austin Theory will be in creative hiatus for the next 3 years, and then he'll leave. Austin Theory, there are no plans to push him into the main event as of yet. Santos Escobar making a point of still wearing LWO merch. A clear show of respect to Rey Mysterio there. Khalid says, very excited for the SummerSlam Go Home show next week and SummerSlam next Saturday. I can't wait for your stream. I will, of course, be live for SummerSlam in its entirety, and I hope to see as many of you guys there as I can. James says, Grayson doesn't represent us Australians. I'll remember that, mate. I'll remember to not believe that and keep my distance. I also scary to think LWO and WWE will be more compelling than the NWO in WWE, which is not unfair. That said, the NWO still had some good moments. The return of Shawn Michaels, for example, was a pretty good moment overall. But NWO was a WCW faction, and I do think when it is remembered in years to come, it will only be remembered as a WCW faction. This night, thank you. That's what Santos Escobar said to Rey Mysterio. Christian says, how is it that AEW Fight Forever came out so recently? I'm getting bored and find it stale. I guess the fan base died out really quickly. I think unfortunately, firstly, hi Christian, how you doing mate? Good to see you. I think unfortunately with Fight Forever, it Duke Nukem forevered itself. It spent too long building itself up and people just got a bit bored. It is what it is. Bismo says, I wonder if this respect for one another will end up a ruse. I think if Rey Mysterio wins, that certainly raises that question. I don't think that question is coming anytime soon. Sean said, Ray said on the bump he wants to take the belt off of Dominic. I don't necessarily think Dominic will still have the belt by then. Oh, okay, what's happening here? Austin Theory has found himself a box upstairs. Man's even got some popcorn. Somebody cued him in there. Told him he was on camera. Leon says, I know this is off topic, but you're going all in, right? Yes, I am. When it comes to the watch parties, it's a little less rigid than spoiler warning. For spoiler warning, I have to stay on topic because I have a whole load of news to talk about and a lot of questions to answer. But we don't get so many viewers in here because the watch party has a bit more competition. And also, I think a lot of people come to the spoiler warning just for the news. And honestly, they get quite annoyed when people ask questions. And then I laugh because that's what we do there. So yes, I am going all in. Why do you ask, Leo? Chris says the game was overhyped in my opinion, which is a very, very strong phrase to use when discussing Triple H. James says it's the same as WWE 2K. You complete the My Ride and then what? There's nothing fun to do after it, really. I did have that issue. I think GM mode for 2K has been a breath of fresh air and really helped invigorate it. But ultimately, still not quite enough to keep it going for me. I think Xavier Woods does more for WWE 2K than anyone else does. Oh yeah, we're getting the good moves. Rey Mysterio flying over the top. Celebrating afterwards. Lots of cutaways to Austin Theory, very brief, and we're off to another commercial break. Leon said I'm going to All In too. Cool. Good to hear, mate. We'll see if we're sat anywhere near each other. Kelly says, just got done watching Spoiler Warning, can't wait to see a Street Profits heel turn. For anyone who did miss Spoiler Warning earlier today, Bobby Lashley's faction continues to get quite a bit of attention. And in fact, the WWE creative team are really behind giving Bobby Lashley pretty much whatever he wants. He has asked to work a little more with the, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams from NXT. And he's in fact asked for them to be called up to work with his faction. The Street Profits and Bianca Belair, though, are going to be the real focus, though I think it's unlikely we see any of those Street Profits or Bianca Belair this week due to still having the COVID positive test. It was a week ago now, so it could be that we've moved on, but the test was done at Smackdown, so it would be exactly a week. Eric says, is Austin ringside? Nope. He's up in a box. Man's in a box. I know, Chris, I just thought I'd jump in on that one. I thought it was quite fun. Megan says, if you need someone to take the chat off on a tangent, I'm here. Happens every time in my streams. But that's a good thing, Megan. On a stream like this, that's absolutely a good thing. Streamers live or die by what's called chat rate. And Megan, you'll know this full well. If I drop into your streams, I'm either lurking because I'm actually doing something else, or I'm chatting. Because I know what keeps the stream going. It gives you stuff to work from. It guarantees you content. But also, watch time is an important thing. Click rate, click-through rate is an important thing. But when you're live, it comes down to likes and it comes down to chat rate. The more people are chatting, the more people will be in the channel. This is why Spoiler Warning still has the amount of people in that it does compared. Chris says our Raw watch-along goes off the rails too. Yep, and that's how it should be. But the question has to be, when it goes off the rails, is it going off the rails in a way that entertains and, pardon me, that entertains and encourages people to say hi, to jump in? I really like that at the beginning of spoiler warning, so many of you will immediately try and guess how many cans of Cherry Coke I've got left. That's great for the chat rate and basically just has a massive boost to the number of people there straight away. Chat rate's a wonderful thing. I wouldn't necessarily say you should spam, but little things. Little things like just jumping in and saying hi, and I don't know. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. Megan says, I appreciate it every time you and everyone else appears. That's how it should be, Megan. I appreciate you. Chris says, we get our viewers laughing. That's how it should be. Bailey says, trivia question, how many Cherry Coke cans will be left by next week? Not many. Not many. James says, Tom's got a room full of Cherry Coke. I did briefly. I had 48 cans in a bottle. It's a lot of Cherry Coke. Like, I'm a meme. The thing is, I'm only a meme here. The reason I got them is because I talk about this chat with my friends and my family. I've mentioned quite a lot of you. What can I say? I have a lot of fun here. Eric says, could you see LA Knight going back to a different version of his yay dummy he did in TNA? No. As I say, once again, wrestlers, any sort of artist, actor, they don't like going backwards. So the amount of times people have said to me, can you see this going back, going back, going back, going back? We haven't seen anyone really going back. Dom says, I meant to say you have been here live for spoiler warning, but the Cherry Coke can pop is a classic. I'm glad you guys are enjoying that. It was just a silly little idea. When I had so many cans, I might as well. And after all, we're wrestling fans. We know what the can opening sound entails. We've just hit 20 likes. Absolutely lovely. Last time we checked in, it was only 14. Can we get it to 25? 5 likes. Can we do it? The challenge. Brad says, Tom, do you think the ring can make or break the wrestler? Because I can see bad gear is a total detriment. Do you think ring gear can make or break the wrestler? It can definitely help people to stand out. I think the women are much smarter with their ring gear than the men are. Much smarter. The men don't see it as a real advantage. And I think that's a shame. I'm not sure what Rey Mysterio's doing here. Seems to be doing a little bit of the Daniel Bryan thing. I really don't know what they were supposed to be going for other than that sort of rotation. Sometimes they don't really hide what they're doing, and I think it's a shame. The referee just told Santos something. Something important. I'm not sure what's going on there. James says Drew McIntyre had to change his moves because of the pants he was wearing. His finisher came because he couldn't do his big boot anymore because of the pants he was wearing. The referee keeps checking on Rey Mysterio. I don't know if it's storyline or not. I'm not 100% certain that Rey Mysterio's okay. But maybe that's the story. Do you guys see what I mean? Santos has slowed right down. The match has slowed right down. The ref keeps checking. Could be storyline. As this is awesome chant from the crowd, despite the fact that Rey Mysterio are not doing too much at the moment. I think he might just be winded. I'm not sure. Chris says she whispered quickly to Ray too. Glad you caught that, mate. Oh, something's going on the outside. The match continues. Oh, Hurricane Rana. I'd imagine that's another commercial break. No? Is Ray going to do the slide? The belly slide? Yes, he is. And he misses. The man just ate shit. Megan says, I think it might also be down to those on the side of the feminine and more aware of the importance of a distinct look in establishing who we are as people. Very true and very fair. I wasn't really clear of like the why, but the women have always been better at that. Also true of advertising. The women will market their matches. They will say, I'm in this town on Twitter and so on and so forth. The men just expect the company to do it for them by and large. Bismo says, Tom's streams are basic but very informative. I don't need big flashy green screens to be entertained. Easy to concentrate when it's just a guy giving his info of what he's hearing. That's the thing. I used to do, when I was on Twitch, a lot of visual comedy. And I learned a lot from John Robertson, for those who aren't familiar with him, a comedian that I very much like, and his act is a lot of physical comedy. And I learned a lot from his Twitch stream. If you're a streamer, his Twitch stream will teach you a lot, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So it's more about how you're doing things, and that was how I originally started on Twitch, but I realised after a while I didn't need that. This is a bit more like a podcast, but it's a watch party. Spoiler warnings about info. Essentially, if I'm going to be funny, I'm going to do it with my mouth. You know? That's what's important. As long as I'm doing stuff with my mouth, you guys are happy. You like the mouth stuff. Eric says, who's the one person who's a surefire Hall of Famer who's never won a World Championship? Mine is Dustin Rhodes. Would have been Owen Hart. Would have been Owen Hart. Sai says, these two aren't on the same page, and that's amazing. I mean, they're both trying to beat each other. They got to find a way. Tyler says, hope it's not his knee again. Hopefully not. That would wipe him out for a while, but he seems to be running absolutely fine, so it won't be his knee. Brad said, as a Shawn Michaels fan, I think his gear in the Elimination Chamber was horrible. Do you remember when Triple H had to wear trousers? It was a strange time. James, there should not be kids in my stream. There should not be kids in my stream. I are grown up. I say weird shit. If you're just joining us, please do remember to hit like as you join the channel. We're currently at 21 likes. 4 more will get us to 25. That's what I'm aiming for at the moment. And subscribe if you like content like this. We are currently watching Smackdown. We have Santos Escobar versus Rey Mysterio. And it looks like Rey Mysterio might be a little bit hurt. Might be just a little bit hurt, which is making me nervous. Ooh, Sai suggests Lex Luger could be a surefire Hall of Famer to never win a championship. Though he has, of course, won championships in WCW, having beaten Hulk Hogan when it was clear that we were heading towards Sting versus Hulk Hogan. Kind of pointless. Sai says maybe Ken Shamrock, but same caveat. Ken Shamrock didn't really have long enough to make that big an impact, unfortunately. When it comes to the World Championships, it depends what you really clarify as. Jeff Jarrett, I think, could potentially be in that camp. Is there anyone you guys would say is a surefire Hall of Fame without winning a championship? William Regal comes to mind. Anyone else with suggestions on that one? We are back. We are a third of the way through Smackdown. Much like last week when we got very long matches and quite a lot of commercial breaks, I suspect we might be looking at the same thing. Bailey suggests Paul Heyman, which I think is a very good shout. Paul Heyman, very well deserving of a Hall of Fame induction. James says, I wonder what Michael Cole's Hall of Fame speech would say. Michael Cole will definitely go into the Hall of Fame, and he fully deserves it. Peter suggests Steve Blackman. He is a lethal weapon. He's a weapon at least. Brad says Finlay. He does love to fight. And Chris says the Brooklyn Brawler. He gets referenced a lot nowadays. In fact, I think he follows me on Twitter. Maybe one day, and I do think this day will come, maybe one day, Logan Paul will be a Hall of Famer. Rey Mysterio is in fact hurt. Again, I don't know if this is storyline or not. Personally, I suspect it is. KJ says, what's up guys? Hello Tom. Hello KJ. Okay, so we're being shown a replay there. Putting it down to the suicide dive. Rey was not moving well beforehand. I think Rey Mysterio is actually hurt. No, he's not actually hurt. Yeah, Rey Mysterio is not actually hurt. The match is being called for Santos Escobar. Rey Mysterio is not genuinely hurt. James suggests Hornswoggle could be the guy. Leon saying, oh dear, Ray's hurt. I will suggest Gilbert could be the guy. KJ says, could you guys tell me what happened in the opening minutes of SmackDown? Or did Santos and Ray open? The opening segment was Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Essentially a promo about Roman making Jey. Santos showing respect to Rey Mysterio, Austin Theory walking away. I enjoyed D'Lo Brown, Dom. I really did. Chris says Ray's knee did jerk in a weird way there. He was hurt before. It's not the suicide dive. No real pressure on his knees when he went down there. He was acting hurt beforehand, before the commercial break. He was moving in slow motion, but he wasn't actually. He looked like he was moving in slow motion, and then he'd hit a big move. Confirmation that the United States Championship will be defended on SmackDown, not SummerSlam. SummerSlam will not be graced with Austin Theory match. Let's get ratings in for the match. What I saw, I enjoyed. I just don't think there was enough of it. It was slow motion. It wasn't particularly high pace. And it just wasn't as inventive as I felt they could have had. Maybe they're saving it for something a bit later, but we are where we are. Eric says, get better soon, Ray. How would you rate it out of 10? I personally am giving it a 6. Could have done a lot better, but in the brief time that they had, they did give us some memorable moments. Dom gives it a 5. Sai says 3 out of 10. How those two had a bad match is beyond me. Even before the injury, they were making a poor match the story. Also an odd way to build up Escobar for what should have been a big win. Bianca Belair is backstage, which suggests the Street Profits will be on screen later. Let's see what she says, because this could be very telling. I know the tag champions are backstage. Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. I'd imagine Bianca's about to beat one of them up. Hello, Connor. How you doing? Sorry. Hello, Connor. How you doing, mate? Always at least once. Bismo says, good call and stopping the match unless looked like a hard blow to the back of his head. I did not see that myself, Bismo. Leon gives the match a 6. L for 6. Brad a 5. I nearly said a 6. Brad gives it a 5 as well. James says, I think Ray's right knee hyperextended. If there was a serious injury, they would have had someone actually come down and help him, instead of having someone come down and just look like they were hovering around. Tyler says, I'm surprised it will be SmackDown after, not before SummerSlam. SmackDown before SummerSlam is a go-home show. They want to make sure they're still pushing the main card for SummerSlam. I can't confirm one way or the other, Wiggly, whether that was real or kayfabe. Once I do know, I'll let you know. At the moment, I'm leaning towards kayfabe. Charlotte Flair just moving into shot. I'm guessing we're going to see Charlotte and Bianca versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville here. It is a tag match. Megan says, I'm going to say 6.5. Here's hoping Ray's okay. I do feel bad for Santos that it ended like this, but what they were able to do was good. I agree. Connor says, good, mate. How's you? Doing great, mate. Got a holiday coming up. It's going to be fantastic. Really excited. El said, do you ever read the old Power Slam magazines? I do not. Leon says, quite accurately, can they coexist? Now, this seems like the perfect time to just have that moment of question. I need to ask you all a question. I need to ask you all a question. Can they coexist? Do you think Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair can coexist? Vital question. Vital question. Connor says, where are you heading off to? It's a staycation, but I'm going to go ahead and no comment that. I have a very busy August, is all I'll really say. Very busy August. Bismo says, Belair turns heel tonight. I don't see it tonight. Bailey thinks they cannot coexist. Brad thinks they can't coexist. Airwolf thinks they can coexist, which is wonderful. I like that you believe in things, Airwolf. Gomar says, no, they cannot coexist. I feel like they should have booked Santos versus Austin at SummerSlam. I've mentioned in previous spoiler warning, I think a week ago, Triple H is trimming down the SummerSlam card. Vince McMahon tried to load it up, and Triple H eventually basically said, you know what, nah. Connor says they can, but no, they can, no, but no, can they, no? Dom says no in his Daniel Bryan voice, which I believe technically is no. James says Charlotte Flair will make it about her. She already did. She walked in and made that about her. Chris says it was slow paced but good. This is as regards the match. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Not happy about the US title being defended on Smackdown. Truly thought they were building to a match on a pay-per-view. Bailey says Chelsea Green does a fun job. It's a mixed feeling because that could have been Carmella starring in that role before she went on leave. It would have been Carmella, but ultimately I think she's still in a pretty happy spot. Pretty happy spot. I don't think she'd be too unhappy with her situation at the moment. So we seem to be heading towards draw segment. I'd imagine if we're going to have a women's tag team match, that would see us through to the draw segment. I'd quite enjoy it. Errol said, when does your SummerSlam watch party start? See, I've been thinking about this. I originally wanted to do a marathon stream for SummerSlam, but parenting, unfortunately, has meant that I've struggled to find the time to do so and really plan things out. What I'm thinking is I'll start an hour before the pre-show starts. Usually I start with the pre-show at midnight in UK time, and then we watch it through. I'm thinking I'll start an hour earlier, and we'll just have ourselves a show, talk about predictions, and see where we go from there. That's what I'm thinking, but as soon as I have an official time, I'll let you know. More likely will just be when the pre-show starts, which is how we usually do things. That hour for the pre-show, I do feel confused that more people don't take advantage of it, because you can use that hour to talk predictions, to talk storylines, to just see how people are. Like, seriously, how are you? You, right there. You. You listening to this. How the devil are you? Are you good? You okay? You okay? Because I hope so. I hope so. Brad said she's very happy I follow her on Instagram. A lot of people in WWE very happy right now. And ultimately they just, I say ultimately a lot, they just park the contract because they know the moment will come again. When she returns, it'll be a good moment for everyone involved. Carmella's very popular backstage. I don't think enough is said about it. Sorry to hear that, Peter. Hopefully it picks up. I'm enjoying your TikTok. Okay. Hit row. Who saw this one coming? Hit row were in the ring to no reaction whatsoever. There's kind of a boo, but not really. Connor says, I currently have 2 cats playing on my desk. Trying to type with that is very hard. Yeah, but you got 2 cats. Surely that's at least entertaining. I think Top Dollar did a sports reference. Wow, that was a pop. LA Knight is wrestling. That was a hell of a pop. Bismo says LA Knight. Brad says please LA Knight. Sean says looks like they're bringing back pre-show matches. An 8-person tag match was announced for NXT Great American Bash. When it comes to pre-shows, they've been doing them on NXT for a while. That doesn't mean they're bringing them back for main shows. The crowd's really making their feelings known. I gotta say, I think the WWE are doing right by not pushing LA Knight right now. Because the longer they don't push him, the more the crowd get behind him. If the crowd thinks that the WWE like LA Knight, the crowd will give up. The crowd will think, oh, he'll get sorted. If the crowd think the WWE don't care, what's going to happen? This. Chris says LA woke up the crowd. He really did. So it's Ashanti the Adonis versus LA Knight. Who do we think's picking up the win there? I gotta be honest, it would be silly for it not to be LA Knight. That said, it's not an impossibility. Another good promo from LA Knight on the way to the ring. I'm noticing he's using his face. He's keeping his eyebrows up, not down. Silly as that sounds, now I've mentioned it, have a look and you'll see it. He's keeping those eyebrows up. Sometimes that's all you need. I can't imagine this match lasting particularly long, if I'm honest. It seems very similar to what happened at main event last week. Oh, distraction from Top Dollar gives him an opportunity for Ashanti the Adonis. Megan's happy. Megan's happy for LA Knight. Brad thinks LA Knight's winning. Chris thinks LA Knight for sure is winning. Wouldn't surprise me, but he does have to have a good showing as well. Much like with Jey Uso, LA Knight's being sent out there to basically make sure the crowd can make his case for him. If the crowd are behind you, you're going to get pushed. That's the Triple H world. If he can keep them cheering, that's all it's going to take. Another distraction, another cheap shot. B-Fab making her attempt there. I do feel like what's happening is we're getting what would be just sort of a calm, slow match in real high pace. James says, does anyone like Hit Row? Triple H does. Triple H loves Hit Row. Because they're just getting beaten up now. LA Knight very close to having already won it. This is not going to be long at all, is it? Pete says they left a letter out of Hit Row. Wow. And that will be that. I don't really know how to ask this, but how do you rate that match? Chris says, I like Top Dollar, just not in the ring. I get it. I get it. Sean says, this was a segment that outdrew the bloodline on social media not too long ago. People are behind LA Knight. Absolutely do it. Now, it was very, very brief. I can't rate it highly. I'm giving it a 4. Because ultimately, I say ultimately a lot. Because LA Knight is over. He hit his big moves. And he was able to pick up a win. Good showing. Leon gives it a 2. Errol gives it a 2. It just wasn't long enough. I get that. Megan says 10 for LA Knight appearing. 3 for the match. Brad gives it a 9. Clearly a fan. James says, why don't they say the yeah as he's in the air for the elbow? They will soon, I'm sure. They're still learning the catchphrases. Connor gives it a full 10 out of 10. LA Knight doesn't seem to want to leave the ring. Nope, there we go. We're going backstage where Jey Uso is about to be told he's wrestling Grayson Waller. So those are our 4 matches. The women's tag match, this one. So what they're saying is only 2 matches are actually planned for Smackdown tonight. Bailey says, is Top Dollar at the bottom of the roster or am I missing someone? I'd say Ashanti the Adonis is at the bottom because he's the one picking up the losses. Awkward for everyone involved. Chris says, that match left me wanting more LA Knight than it really did the job. Charlotte Flair on the way down to the ring in a very different robe than normal. Very different. Sai says, was that thrown together because they had time to fill from the last match? Nope, that was always the plan. Triple H is trying to make sure LA Knight features for at least a couple of minutes on every show. Which I think is the right move. That's how you push someone, you know? It's just a way of saying to the fans, look, we know, okay? Peter gives it an 11 out of 10. Sai gives it a 2. Bismo says I'll give it a 5 just for LA Knight, which is not unfair. And Dom says 5 for the crowd participation. James says, what's better, the yeah movement or the yes movement? Well, that's what's called confirmation bias. And recency bias as well. You think something's better just because it's more recent. Bismo says, Tom, tough question. How would you book Hit Row to try and get them over? So what I'd start doing essentially is getting them better on the microphone and let them actually go out there and talk. I'd have them acting as I'd have them as a warm-up act for SmackDown, and then for the first couple of minutes of the show, they're just still in the ring, getting the crowd going. Someone else's music hits, they start their intro, hero skedaddle for a bit. And you're told, oh, if you want to know more about that warm-up act, just check out social media. Before you know it, people will be checking them out. 5 minutes away from the hour, and our draw segment is going to be Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair versus Women's Tag Team Champion Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. Again, not a match that apparently was booked. Connor says, I would have not brought them back unless I had Swerve. Swerve added a lot of charisma. He was a leader in NXT, though they did remove that for the main roster. Leon says, do you still want Top Dollar to join Bray's faction? That'd be hilarious and weird. Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Give me Top Dollar with Bray Wyatt and I'd be a very, very happy man. Sean says, okay, everyone, do we think Asuka will get involved in this upcoming tag match? I certainly think that's a possibility. I think kind of everyone is going to get involved in this tag match. My expectation is that they can't coexist. Asuka gets involved, Bayley and Io Sky get involved, and in the end, Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville pick up a bit of a scalp and pin Charlotte Flair. Megan says, if Ashanti is going to get any chance of being taken seriously, he needs to get away from Hit Row. B-Fab is too green and Top Dollar is forgettable in the ring. They have been working with B-Fab on a one-on-one basis at the Performance Center to try and get her ready for full-time wrestling. They're not happy with the results. This is also true of Lana, who they tried to get ready and they weren't happy with the results. AEW once again being advertised during WWE shows, always nice to see. It's also true of other wrestlers. Scarlett, for example, they're not happy with the results. At some point, you have to start to wonder if it's the training that's the problem. Jane says, Tom, who do you think is someone who should have won the WWE Championship? Personally, I think John Cena or Ric Flair. They did. They are former champions. They've been world champions. I'm not sure I fully understand what you're getting at there, James. We are currently at 2,558 subscribers. Two more. Guess it's 2,560. If you've not done so yet, please consider hitting subscribe. We're also on 390 views, only 10 away from 400. And I've got to say, a large part of the success of this stream, I promise you, is that chat rate. So thank you, all of you, for helping me out and just screaming it from the rooftops. Much appreciated. We also did hit 25 likes, which I'm very happy about as well. When we're back, it will be a case of Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair versus Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. Who do we have winning this one? I am actually going to be bold here and say that I think Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green are going to be the ones walking away with the win. Now, I don't know if it's a championship match. I don't believe they've said that it is. Non-title tends to suggest that Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair will win. But it's very awkward when you've just crowned someone champion and you immediately put them against people the caliber and level of Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair. These two should not be anywhere near those tag team championships. They shouldn't even be eligible for them. Just to give them a chance, basically. James thinks Bianca will attack Charlotte. I don't see the heel turn happening just yet, but I definitely think we're seeing a lot more aggressive and heelish tactics and traits in Bianca Belair than we have done for a long, long time. Brad says the Karens. I would never call Sonya Deville that, but we are where we are with that one. Megan says Charlotte and Bianca can't get on. Also, Asuka will want to wind them both up ahead of the match. So I have Sonya and Chelsea winning. The Street Profits are backstage being treated to the high life by Bobby Lashley. You'll note that he's talking about wrestlers from NXT, but using them to talk about the Street Profits. I'm sorry, are we about to get the Street Profits in suits? Oh. Montez Ford does look amazing, all times. Are we going to see them in suits? Because I'm not ready for... I'm interested in what's happening here. Sean says, Scarlett has experience, though. She did compete in the Indies and has been wrestling since 2012. Yeah, she's genuinely quite good. Just the WWE weren't happy with what they were seeing. Bailey thinks the winners will be Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. Bismarck says Sonya and Chelsea should go over here just due to outside interference. Peter thinks Asuka will get involved. What do we think of the partnership so far between the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley? Because I gotta be honest, I'm loving it. And I think it's very telling that we just saw the Street Profits backstage with Bobby Lashley just as Bianca Belair starts her appearance. Okay, this is just me being self-indulgent, but I really hope we go back to them later and they're wearing suits. Like, sue me. I like a man in a suit. Brad says he's loving it. Leon says I love it, but I miss the original Hurt Business. To be clear, this is not the Hurt Business from what I can tell. Bobby Lashley is acting like MVP, but if MVP isn't involved, it ain't no Hurt Business. So definitely all positive so far as regards Street Profits and Bobby Lashley. If you did miss spoiler warning earlier, I was talking about this particular faction being essentially positioned to replace the Bloodline as the Bloodline starts to wind down. The Bloodline, with Roman and Jey imploding on their collision course, as the title of this stream tells you. With them on the collision course, a replacement did need to be selected. On Raw, the Judgment Day will be taking that top spot, whereas on Smackdown, they needed a new faction who could claim that gold. Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, that's a combination enough. Brad says suit up. Gomar says I think Charlotte and Bianca lose the match, also building tension for a potential feud. That feud is incoming. As I previously mentioned, Charlotte versus Bianca seems like it's going to be the plan right after SummerSlam. Peter says, what's happening with Omos? Nothing. Nothing at all. In my video about Vince McMahon's return and the impact overall of him, I did mention Omos not really featuring because of the return of Vince McMahon. Bismo says, how many will join Bobby's new faction? The only ones I know of at the moment are the Street Profits and Bianca Belair, though it's not clear whether Bianca Belair will be officially part of the group or just sort of in the orbit of it. James says you would think tag team champions would get a reaction. They're brand new tag team champions. I think it will take them a little while to get there. Honestly, I like Chelsea's character work and I love Sonya Deville, both character and in ring. I'm glad she finally won something. It's long overdue. Give me as much Sonya Deville as possible. Bianca is opening the match against Chelsea. This likely will go for about 20 minutes. Sean says, here's a question for everyone and you, Tom. Which women's match do you think will happen first at SummerSlam? The triple threat for me. Becky likes to open shows. Becky versus Trish would have been opening the show, I'm sure, if not for Logan Paul and Ricochet. Becky's in a good spot. She knows what she's doing. But I think the triple threat with that not happening. Chris says, I heard. I need a source on this one, Chris. Heard almost is back at the PC getting more seasoning. To be clear, this is something that you hear a lot, and it's a bit misleading. So, Omos is back at the PC getting more seasoning. You know who else is at the PC getting more seasoning? Becky Lynch. Charlotte Flair. Finn Balor. Dominic Mysterio. A lot of wrestlers, particularly this new generation that's coming under Triple H, they are constantly going back to the Performance Center to work with the people there, help them develop, and also maintain fitness and basically explore some different options in ring. So when you see reports that, oh, this wrestler's had to go back to the Performance Center because they're not very good, it's got nothing to do with that. What it means is that they're dedicated to their craft. Sean says Charlotte's gears have been good since she's come back. Certainly different and stands out. Megan says Sonya as tag team champion is long overdue. She should have won with Mandy. I agree with that. She was, of course, in the inaugural championship match in the Elimination Chamber. last eliminated to my knowledge. I would have very much liked it if Mandy and Sonya could have won those tag team championships. They would have been perfect opponents for Sasha Banks and Bayley. It's just that there wasn't really a plan for those championships. Dom is not a fan of Omos's wrestling, thinks he's not a good big man. Peter says, still don't understand Sonya's eye decoration, but on we go. Ronda's is worse. I believe Sonya's covering up a scar that she just wants covered up. In which case, cool. Brad says, a tough enough class featuring Mandy. What about it, mate? He's retracted the message. I'd imagine another one's coming. So in a match like this, you'd expect the tag team champions to basically just take a beating and then somehow sneak a win. Oh, lovely kick from Sonya. Bianca did not have to work particularly hard to sell that one. That was a kick and a half. Good reaction from Charlotte as we go into commercial break. Pete says, don't even get me started on Raquel's entrance. Why? Can you tell me exactly what you mean, but in like multiple messages? Chris says, we had to explain that about wrestlers going from the main roster to NXT as well. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Megan says, Mandy and Sonya should have won the tag titles at least once. Shayna Baszler should have won the 2020 Women's Rumble. I will hear no arguments on this because I am right. No, I agree with that. I agree with that. This, of course, was when Shayna Baszler was still in NXT and I was reporting that she would be in the Rumble. That was way back in the day. I expected her to win. The moment did not come. Sean says, the Bellas, now the Garcia twins, wanted to win the tag titles. I believe that isn't the case anymore. No, because if it was, they'd be in WWE. Leon says, I like Omos the person, but not Omos the in-ring wrestler. Which I get. Peter says, showing her back. I understand she's chiseled, but come on, use a bit more imagination, maybe. Brad says, the Tough Enough class featuring Mandy, Sonya and Chelsea is the best Tough Enough class. Never watched Tough Enough. Can you sell it to me, Brad? Who here is a fan of Tough Enough and thinks that I should watch it? Because if you guys think it's something I need to add to my lexicon, then absolutely I should be considering it. In shows like this where we get long wrestling matches and not a lot of breakdown in the promos, I do sometimes feel like we end up with more commercial breaks, or at least it's a bit more egregious, because you're getting multiple during one match. Now to 2559 subs. Thank you very much to whoever did subscribe. One more gets us to 2560. Leon says, just curious, why do they sometimes change wrestlers' themes? And when Keith Lee got called up in the backlash WWE received when they changed his, because of the limited license terms. Quite often when you change channel, for example, if you go from NXT to Fox, the limited license you have to use the music no longer applies to Fox. Gotcha, Brad. So it depends on the season. Who else came through Tough Enough that I would recognise? Because going back and seeing some of the journeys and the stories could be a lot of fun. So it says, Tough Enough was worth it for Austin's bemusement throughout. The rest have a hard time not believing it was scripted, or at least the audience were being led. Ah, the days of stunt grannies. That, by the way, so there was a wrestling special which was basically Behind the Magic, but wrestling. I remember Mankind referencing it in a tag team with Al Snow once. And they had stunt grannies. And it's the thing that got me interested in the behind the scenes stuff. Joey says, how has SmackDown been so far? So far, so good. Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar was awkwardly finished, but it was okay. LA Knight had a very big pop, which is always good news. We're currently in a tag team match between Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair versus Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. It's a great opportunity for Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green, but it's not a great opportunity if they lose. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I think you know what I mean. Again, Sonya Deville with big kicks, but just getting rid of distance. I'm sorry to hear that, Peter. Sai says The Miz and John Morrison were both original Tough Enough entrants. Now you're speaking my language. Brett says Chris Maven. See, Maven I was aware of, mostly because of that Royal Rumble moment. Just awkward for everyone involved. Si, you got there. You got there. Megan says Nikki and Bree seem to have passed the twin tag team mantle to the Cavender twins in NXT. I'd imagine we're going to be seeing a lot of them in the near future. For some reason, WWE loves heel twins. Right you are, Sean. Right you are. Charlotte Flair is the hot tag. Tags in. Big pop for Charlotte Flair. Didn't think I'd be saying that anytime soon. Bit of an awkward crossbody. She didn't exactly go as sideways as she was looking for. The crowd are popping for Charlotte Flair. The crowd are popping for Charlotte Flair. Just want to point that out because some people believe that's never happened. Megan says Ryback was also in Tough Enough, same season as The Miz too. Okay, now I'm less interested. Fall away slam from Charlotte, House of Fire and a kip up. Face Charlotte Flair's working. Thank you, Chris. Said the show was called Exposed, Wrestling's Greatest Secrets, and they basically told us all what we already knew, but padded it with stuff like stunt grannies. Good late kick out from Chelsea Green there. That was a good moment. The crowd were convinced. Oh, Sean, that's awkward. That's awkward. Not selling points when, as you say, a former dream came through. Charlotte's still enjoying her work. I didn't spot whether this was for a championship or not. James says the commentators' heels and faces, Corey Graves and Wade, seem like heels. Wade Barrett has his moments where he's face or heel, but he does float a little bit. They're trying to move away from that model at the moment. Joey says Ryback was only popular for 1 year because of the Feed Me More chant. I mean, it works. Sometimes you just got to know the audience. Think of the simplicity of some of the things that have gotten over. Yeah. Yes. Let's think about other stuff. Finally, The Rock has come back to wherever he is. Acknowledge me. Suck it. Really simple things that you can repeat. Tend to get over. Bianca Belair is now essentially hot. Thank you. Thank you. I was reaching for that and I couldn't connect to it. Joey and Leon both saying the what chant. James says I liked Ryback, but I was like 12 when he was about, which was basically his target audience. Megan says Evilise and Cameron were on season 5. Ooh, okay. Okay. That was a bad spine buster. I think Sonya Deville got that one wrong. Closed her legs when she shouldn't have. Supposed to have open legs for the spine buster so she can wrap around Bianca and she has a leverage. The tempo's been great on this match. It's been quite fun. Sean says Ryback was once on NXT when it was a competition show as Skip Sheffield. Yep, debuted with the Nexus. Bailey says for about 10 minutes the Fandango song was popular. True. Oh. We're having an argument here. Bianca's the problem here. Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair pick up the win. The champions. Bianca and Charlotte are going to win the championships, aren't they? That's going to be part of the feud. After SummerSlam, they're going to pick up the championships. I can't wait to hate that. Besides, there's not just catchphrases. Seth freaking Rollins freaking music. Burn it down. Joey says WWE thought Ryback could be the next Goldberg. Goldberg? Just the word Goldberg. James says the We the People chant was around for a little bit. Yeah, that was weird. Weird times. Come Get Some was big. Sean says no Asuka. No. Charlotte Flair accurately saying they both won. What's Bianca complaining about? She's whining at this point. Bailey is backstage. I'd imagine we're about to see something from Shotzi. Oh, no. Io looks sad. Io looks sad. I do like that they have matching hair. This is really cute. Chris says, one thing I like about Sonya and Chelsea Green, other than the in-ring, I love that Sonya and Chelsea have the same outfit, solidifying that they are a tag team. I agree. I actually really like the attire. Also, it's spoiler warning colours. So if I just click on the spoiler warning colours. And we do indeed have Asuka. Again, making it clear that the story is nothing to do with Bianca and Charlotte at this point. The championship is Asuka and Io. Also, I like the eye makeup. Asuka's really finding it awkward looking at the camera while also trying to look at Io. Bayley just looks very confused. Io being rude again. I still think that cash-in fails because of Bayley, and we get the match at WrestleMania instead. What do we think? What do we think? Do you think Io wins the cash-in? Oh, apparently now Jey Uso is unhinged. Can't help but think that no one's going to tell me why Jey Uso is apparently unhinged. Megan says, I can't lie, I want Asuka's outfit. Nor should you lie. Looks good. Leon says, I miss Dakota Kai. Me too, if I'm honest. I'll say if I'm honest, like any of you are surprised by hearing me say that. You all know I'm a fan. So says, technically they get a title shot now. I don't see SummerSlam going any other way than Charlotte winning. Near a 17 belt and immediately losing to Io. Wow, okay. Charlotte winning then losing to Io. Personally, I have Asuka retaining. What do we think? At SummerSlam there's a triple threat. Asuka defending against Charlotte and also Bianca Belair. I see Bianca Belair and Charlotte getting in each other's way. Asuka escaping with the championship. And then Bianca versus Charlotte for the next few months. Then, of course, Asuka moves on to some sort of feud long-term with Io. What do you guys reckon? Brad doesn't like to see Io sad. Dom's loving Bayley's excuses. Gomar says, Shotzi haunting Bayley is hilarious to me. James says, Asuka and Io actually need a match, not just a pin. I agree. Brad agrees with me there. Joey says, I'm hoping Bron Breakker finally gets called up after SummerSlam. How are we rating that match that we've just had on SmackDown? Personally, I quite like that. I'd give that one a 7.5. The tempo was very good. It was a little bit annoying and loses points because of how predictable the ending was, and I also think it was the wrong winner. But the actual match quality was very good, and that boot from Sonya Deville was glorious. Give me more of that, and I'll be a happy boy for the rest of my goddamn days. Also, I liked seeing Sonya Deville get a shot. She doesn't get shots. Was lovely. Bayley says Asuka is hilarious. Chris thinks Io wins, but we still get Bayley and Io at Mania of Bayley winning the Rumble to get the shot. Ooh. I don't hate that idea. I feel like the actual formal face turn for Io will be when she takes on Bayley. So, if Asuka wins at SummerSlam, she's in the ring celebrating. Io runs down without Bayley, cashes in, starts the match. She's in ascendancy. As she's going to win the championship, Bayley attacks her, beats her down. Asuka escapes. The briefcase is null and void. Io says to Adam Pearce, I want my briefcase back. I earned it. It wasn't my fault. Adam Pearce says there's nothing I can do. Io gets revenge, wins the Rumble, wins the championship at Mania. Megan says, I'll go over 7. Okay match, let down by the ending. Peter gives it an 8. So I give it a 7. Says at least they're building on SummerSlam, which is more than the other matches have done. Not unfair. Not unfair. SummerSlam is kind of a forgotten package at the moment. And it's not often I talk about the package, but when it's forgotten, I have to. Leon says, Worked Wrestling confirmed what he said. Ray's not injured and it was a planned spot. That was just my opinion, to be clear, but I think I've watched enough wrestling and spoken to enough people backstage to know the general rules. They protected Ray there. I feel like Santos should have won clean, but that's not what they decided to do. Joey says, is Shotzi undergoing a character change? Shotzi's halfway through a character change, mate. It's already well in the way. Dom says, sounds like you're onto something. Leon gives the match a 7. Jack gives it an 8. James Kemple says, that's a good idea, but I don't know if they will let Io win both Money in the Bank and the Rumble, which is fair and definitely worth considering. Definitely worth discussing, because that's the full push. That said, for Monday Night Raw, who do we see being the one to win the Rumble? Anyway, personally, when it comes to Royal Rumble, I think it has to be a SmackDown winner, because Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley is surely the most likely scenario. They've announced next week a SummerSlam Battle Royal similar to the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. No, Jack, it's not going to be at SummerSlam. It's a week from now, which means it's going to be on SmackDown. Sean says, I agree, Io should go face. Her offense screams babyface. LA Knight is backstage talking to Adam Pearce. Sean thinks Becky wins the Rumble. LA Knight still interested in that United States Championship. Ooh. 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 LA Knight in the Battle Royal, potentially to join the match for the United States Championship. But we're apparently forgetting Sheamus. Sheamus is going to give LA Knight the rub, isn't he? Sheamus has been stepping aside for a lot of people recently. Also, I kind of love the fact that all of the Brawling Brutes just love hugging each other. Bros supporting bros. LA Knight may well be added to that SummerSlam match. As I say, the plan was always for a push to start after SummerSlam. But why not start off with a bang and a big championship? Sly says, I've watched that Red match back and they suckered me in if he's not hurt, the Ray match. I think it may be legit, just not the spot they highlighted. There were 2 lengthy spot calling meetings in that match. There were. There absolutely were. And they're the things that are confusing me. It definitely was not the spot they were saying it was. James says, if Io wins the Rumble, she's got to keep the title for a year or more, so it's actually worth it. This is the downside of prolonged championship reigns. You start to expect them. I disagree. Joey says, why are they doing the Battle Royal? That's random. For LA Knight, it seems. Might be random, but it certainly works for LA Knight. Will says, with Bobby name-dropping Trick and Mello, it's showing more and more how your reports are true. We already knew that, though. Appreciate that, mate. Joey wants to bring back the Banger Bros. Banger Bros was a thing. How did you feel about the Banger Bros as a name? Because I know there's obviously a clear reference to a porn company. And that is awkward. But is it awkward enough that you'd change the name? I'd embrace it. I would embrace the porn. Kathy Kelly backstage interviewing Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller basically just putting himself over. Can't really blame him, can I? Again, Grayson Waller getting an opportunity to cut another promo. The man just hits. All hits, no misses. Joey liked the name. Joey liked it. So our main event for that final half hour will be Jey Uso versus Grayson Waller. I can only imagine Solo Sikoa is about to go rogue. So rogue Sikoa. Megan says, oh no, we got more LA Knight. How will we cope? Sean says, do you think Liv was fit when she returned? I've already reported she was not 100%. It's Karrion Kross. He's wrestling. Logically, it must be AJ Styles. Chris says, this show went by fast. I agree with that. Sai says, the SummerSlam Battle Royal is giving the card a big time feel. Well, that seems like a paradox. It's a trivial match, but they're actively trying to get everyone on the show like they do with Mania. You're right. Definitely a big help. Joey says, Cricket Cross is coming out. Leon says, I completely forgot about this match. And Joey says it's Carl Anderson. Well, Karrion Kross might actually pick up a win for once. What do we think? Carl Anderson versus Karrion Kross. Are we going to bury Karrion Kross all over again? Or is he finally going to get an opportunity to pick up a win here that he hasn't had for a very long time? Who do you have? Carl Anderson, Karrion Kross. God, his hair's getting so much longer. Chris says, I want to like Karrion Kross, but he feels too generic. He's just angry. He's just an angry dude, and his hair's really not helping the situation. Megan says, I forgot this was happening. Tells you everything you need to know. They look good. They look powerful. They look imposing. They are clear evidence that looking good isn't enough. You know? It's not enough. James says, WWE, please just make Bray and Kross have a really crazy feud. I don't think either man really want it. Leon says, Kross to the win. Chris Leclerc says, no contest. You're right, Chris. How you doing, mate? Jack says, Kross. Joey says, was this Battle Royal Triple H's idea or Vince's? Triple H is booking the shows, mate. Triple H's idea. Brad thinks it's a win for Karrion Kross. Leon says his bold look was more menacing. And Sai says the crowd needs to shout meh instead of yeah for this match. Joey also thinks Kross should bring back the bold look. It's unfortunate, but I agree. Something's missing with Karrion Kross. I think it's probably the fact that WWE don't seem to care. Gomar says, such a great entrance just for nothing, such a shame. I wouldn't say nothing. An entrance is a good thing. It can really help your overall image and your overall impact. Joey says they should use a Killer Kross gimmick and have him destroy everyone, like he did in Impact. So his gimmick essentially is that he wins matches. Joey, who's losing to Karrion Kross? If you're making him dominant, who's he beating? Because I didn't get a clear answer on this from someone else earlier. In order for him to be dominant and destroy people, he has to destroy people. So who's he destroying? Personally, I've got to be honest, I'd have had him beat Drew McIntyre, but we are where we are there. Leon says he's too boring. Karrion Kross character doesn't work on the main roster. I don't think it really worked in NXT. I think he was just against good wrestlers. Some mid-card talent. Who you got then, Joey? Because if you say top dollar, that's not mid-card. But if you go on mid-card, what are we thinking? Xavier Woods? So it says you can't even say Kross wasn't given a good start. It just hasn't clicked. They immediately threw him in the middle of a feud between Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns. You don't really get much better. So it says, conversely, Grayson Waller seems to have genuine talent but appears to have found himself the mid-slot for comedy and talk shows. You got to have one. Some people really hate the idea, but if you're a good talker, that should be celebrated. Joey says they should have slowly built him up instead of immediately throwing him in a big feud with Drew. Okay, so who against? It's the third message since I asked the question, mate. Just give me some names. Who are you burying to feed Karrion Kross? Okay, so Joey, here we go. Sheamus, Butch, or Bobby. Sheamus and Butch, I think, are good shouts. Bobby, hell no. Hell no for Bobby Lashley, but that's because I like Bobby Lashley. And I think he has more of an upside, personally. Sheamus is a good shout. He's been the gatekeeper recently. And I think in general, he can afford the losses. Right now, it looks like he's going to be losing to LA Knight. So with that in mind, would you prefer Karrion Kross to get the push or LA Knight? Oh, you calm yourself down, James. Coming up with crazy things like that. So we have this match, which cannot possibly last very long. It's just not going to last very long. Then we have main event Jey Uso, of course, against Grayson Waller. Joey suggests Edge too, since he's a big wrestler. Edge, absolutely. I definitely think we should be seeing Edge lose to up-and-comers a lot more. Karrion Kross versus Edge makes perfect sense. Jack says Kross versus Gunter. You'd have Gunter lose to Karrion Kross. That Nukem guy, how you doing? Says, for all the stick people give Vince and how he's treated call-ups, Karrion Kross is one that he was on the money about not pushing to the moon, in my opinion. I don't disagree. I really don't. I think, unfortunately, Karrion Kross has completely failed. But he wasn't given the biggest of opportunities to succeed. When you start against Drew McIntyre, you ain't going to do well. James suggests Kross versus Brood Edge. So I was just excited for Kross. Chris says, put him against someone like Dolph Ziggler. Dolph could make Karrion look good. He could, absolutely. But Dolph Ziggler hasn't been at the WWE for a while now. He's still technically under contract, but he's just not focused on it. Carl Anderson has made a dumb choice and has decided to come down to the ring alone. That is dumb. At least take Mia Yim with you. I can't believe they got a 3D graphic. Lukewarm response to Carl Anderson. I think he benefits from the association with AJ Styles, and that's kind of it. Yeah, nobody cares. Look at that crowd. Nobody cares. This is unfortunately what I'm very used to, even in New Japan, from Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Joey says they shouldn't have thrown him in a big feud that Drew wasn't going to lose. That I agree with. Drew McIntyre was absolutely the wrong person to start Karrion Kross off against. So Carl Anderson getting a few punches in. Kyle Kruger, welcome to the show, says Kross versus Big E. If Big E wasn't injured, I think that'd be a good shout. I think they'd do very well together. But, of course, Big E is injured at the moment. Carl Anderson getting his offense in early. That ain't going to last. As I say, this match is just not going to last very long at all. So, Carl Anderson will get his stuff in. Then Scarlett will distract him. Then Karrion Kross will get his stuff in. And I imagine that'll be the entire match. Interesting call there from Michael Cole. Carl Anderson, he's proud. Leon says the good brothers are mid. They're only relevant when they have someone with them. Whether it's Jay White, AJ Styles or Kenny Omega. That has kind of been proven. There's Scarlett. And that's the end of Carl Anderson's offense. James says if Kross had a faction, they could go against the New Day and be evil versus good. Evil's a strong word. Joey says the crowd is taking a nap right now. They don't care. Why would they? What reason does this crowd have to care about what's happening in the ring right now? Dangerous suplex. Big in Japan, literally just referred to as a dangerous suplex. Sai says, Sai's laughing at Michael Cole saying Ray's getting checked out by doctors. In recent weeks, they've let Cody wrestle with a broken arm and Liv go over potential concussion. I'm not sure I trust them. Yeah, did you hear what they did to CM Punk? Would you push Kross or would you move on from Kross? Because I gotta be honest, I'd probably move on from Kross. That said, that was a pretty good move. Jack says, why was this match even made just to fill time? The match was made to try and get Karrion Kross on TV so we don't forget about him. Ultimately, they are trying to push the guy. They're just doing a bad job of it. Leon says, thank God it was only 2 minutes. For that, it's a 10. Giving it a 2. It happened. It was brief. It was extremely predictable. Sean says, I like Miriam or Meechim being with the OC. Gets her on TV and working with AJ isn't bad. Chris says, remember when Karrion came back and teased going after Roman Reigns? Yeah. Remember when he had like purpose and stuff? And Bailey says, this seems like Karrion's last stand. If you can't get over working against AJ Styles, you can't get over. Of course, he's already lost to AJ Styles, but we are where we are. Big AJ Styles chant from the crowd. They at least care. Roman still shown backstage. All 3 championship belts are there, but they didn't go out to the ring with them. Chris says AJ showing up woke everyone up, and indeed it did. So I says a 5 out of 10 for that. Joey says it seems like they've really got nothing for AJ right now. He's been feuding with Kross for over a month now. Same thing happened a little while ago with Kofi, with Rey Mysterio. Something about Kross just stops people from being that invested. Leon says, I wouldn't. Kross Bray could work, but the match... Oh, I just got an email. The match probably won't be good. Well, no. Unfortunately, Bray Wyatt matches haven't been good for a long time. The match of LA Knight was not good. Gomar says, I say put Kross away for a while. Have him returning, costing someone a match. Have them feud and put Kross over. Give me Edge. Give me Edge. That was a great shout. So he says they seem caught between pushing him or jobbing him. Most of the roster fit clearly in one category or the other, but they seem to go back and forth with him, and it makes it tough to invest. Yeah, I don't know why I should care about Karrion Kross. Usually it's a case of, oh, you should care about this guy. He's winning a lot of matches. He doesn't win matches. He doesn't win much of anything. So 25 minutes left. We're about to have a commercial break before we launch Jey Uso versus Grayson Waller. Jey Uso, I don't know whether he's going to win this because I suspect we're going to see Solo Sikoa here. Joey says Kross should go away for a bit to change up his character. Unfortunately, that's happening too much. Way too much. Joey says Hit Row is really taking a nosedive, which is accurate. James is saying 24 minutes for this. Solo's probably going to come out. 20 minutes for this. A commercial break in the middle of it. And then 2-3 minutes to celebrate. So what, 16? Chris says, finally someone sitting down and watching the monitor. Maybe give Karrion some vignettes to get us psyched for him. I think it's too late. I genuinely think it's too late. They're going to need to do a lot to get me interested again. The same's true of wrestlers I really like. Baron Corbin, I really like him as a person and as a wrestler. I can't get invested in him. I can't do it. They are doing damage with his booking. A lot of damage. Joey says, I wonder why Triple H brought them back. Maybe he felt bad they lost their jobs. Not the case. He brought them back quite early on in his presidency, as it were. He was essentially to fill up the tag team roster. And then he continued to fill up the tag team roster and he ended up with too many people. Daniela says the Anderson versus Kross match was too sour, if you get what I'm saying, Tom. Yeah. Sai says, not been my favourite SmackDown. On its own, it hasn't been awful, but with SummerSlam a week away, it's been a slow build. Raw was red hot last Monday with another week to go. Pumped for next week, though. The go-home show should be good, but I do feel sometimes if Roman's there, they don't book anything else. They just think, okay, what's Roman going to do? Okay, well, that's the show sorted. I don't know, I think they kind of get lazy. If you'll forgive me a football term, when you have a star player and all they do is pass it to the star player, it's annoying. Megan says the last match -3. They did disconnect with Kross and I don't know how they can fix it. Can they fix it? That's the question for me. I don't necessarily think that they can. Sean says, giving us vignettes could get people invested in the way. Could do. They did that with Johnny Gargano. The issue is they can't give you a vignette for someone if they have no plans for that someone. Chris says, I kind of like what they're doing with Baron in NXT. I don't watch NXT regularly enough to really speculate. All I can really say is that Baron Corbin has been falling down the pecking order for a while. Drew McIntyre kicking out of End of Days was the wrong choice. The wrong choice. Baron Corbin always had that to hang his hat on. Nobody's kicked out of the End of Days. And then for Drew McIntyre to just do it. It wasn't even made to be a big deal. I did not like it. Daniela says, what are your thoughts on the SummerSlam Battle Royal? It has not happened yet. I'll let you know once it has. Buck Spaceman, how you doing, mate? Said it just feels like WWE is punishing LA Knight for getting over by himself. So to be clear, they're regularly featuring LA Knight on TV. They're giving him plenty of promo time. They're giving him wins in matches and including his name in the conversation for the United States Championship. And you think they're punishing him? Could you elaborate more on that, Bugs? Because I do not see what you're seeing. As we're heading into the finale, please be aware that we currently are sitting on 27 likes. If you're able to, please do remember to hit that like button. It does make a massive difference to the growth of the channel and really helps me to hit the heights that I am looking for. One day I plan to go full time with this here YouTube channel, and one of the easiest ways that you can help is by hitting like to get us up to 30. The WWE have announced that next week Sheamus will take on LA Knight in a match that I very much expect that LA Knight has a very strong chance of winning. 2 weeks from now, Austin Theory will take on Santos Escobar. What I'm confused by is that if if LA Knight is taking on Sheamus, who's going to be in the Battle Royal? It said it's a week from today. Is it going to be on the SummerSlam pre-show? Or is it going to be the main event for the go-home show? Is the main event of the go-home show going to be the LA Knight show? Oh, gotcha, Daniela. They have to announce it in some way. I have no issue with it. Maybe it's SummerSlam then. Maybe it's a pre-show match, as has been speculated. A pre-show battle royal to earn the right to compete for the United States Championship. I'd take it. Wouldn't really do anything but advertise the upcoming Smackdown, though. I don't love Grayson Waller's music. It's just sort of there. As we're heading into our main event, can I ask the ever pertinent question, who have you got for the main event? Who have you got for this one? It is Jey Uso, main event Uso, the right-hand man, versus Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller has main evented SmackDown before in a losing effort to Edge. He could certainly afford the loss, and Triple H, as I've mentioned many times, likes to start at the bottom and work the way up rather than the other way around. So who have you got? Grayson Waller or Jey Uso? Personally, I'm actually going to go Grayson Waller. And admittedly, I've not done well so far this week. But I'm going with Grayson Waller because I think Solo's getting involved here. It may be that Waller loses anyway, Jey Uso picks up the win and we still get Solo. We'll see how it goes. Danielle says, I saw on graphic it said 8 Eastern when the main show starts. So it's on the main show, but I hope pre-show. Okay, interesting. Joey says Waller is Miz 2.0, which is fair enough. You need a Miz. Like, I know people disagree with this, but you need a Miz. So I can see what Buck's Basement is saying. It's not beyond WWE to fight the fans if something wasn't their idea. Not sure what's happening with LA Knight, though, just sticking to their original plans. Essentially, they were just waiting for Santos Escobar to get the opportunity first. James says maybe if it's in the pre-show, it'll be LA Knight winning, so the crowd is already hyped. Daniela likes Waller's theme, so it's a nice beat to it. Jack thinks DQ due to Solo interference, but you haven't said who you think wins. Leon doesn't like Waller's shorts. Gomar says, I say Jay, he's got a main event match coming next week, wouldn't make sense making him lose. Stranger things have happened though. And Joey thinks Miz 2016 was the best. I think Miz in general has always been fantastic. Always been fantastic. Bailey thinks Jay will be picking up the win. Chris says Jay needs a win to stay strong. Kyle says, imagine Kross winning the Royal Rumble. I mean, I can imagine it, but that's the closest it's ever going to come to happening. It's one of those. I can't imagine a world in which that actually happens. Slow start so far. Slow start. Sai says, I don't think Miz 2.0 is necessarily bad, except that role normally comes with a string of losses. I suspect that moment is coming. And Leah says, Miz is an underappreciated legend. That I agree with. I really liked his most recent championship reign. It only lasted 2 minutes. It was a briefcase cash-in, and it eventually led him to Bobby Lashley, but I didn't hate it. I loved the fact that the match was happening, and I remember being on the watch party for it and saying, I would love it if The Miz, as soon as the bell rings, just fucks off. Just goes. Just runs. And then he did, and I lost my goddamn mind. Hector says, regardless of wins or losses, it says a lot about their opinions on Grayson Waller, considering he's always on TV and has main evented 2 Smackdowns so far. Grayson Waller definitely getting a background push at the very least. James says, Miz is actually entertaining. I'm enjoying Grayson Waller's work so far. I understand, obviously, if you're of a different opinion. Daniela says, Kross versus Gallows may happen next week as Kross face Anderson this week. Okay, so I've touched on this previous, and I do just want to reiterate, because I don't think that's a bad thing. I've been a proponent for a long, long time, particularly in his feud for the US title with Ricochet, that AJ Styles should be a final boss. Roman's music is hit just before what will be our last commercial break, as Jey Uso is picking up momentum, providing a distraction. Again, I think it's probably going to be Solo. Oh no, Roman there as well. The entire bloodline on the way down. Yeah, I believe AJ Styles should be a final boss, and what that essentially means is, to get to him, if he's holding a championship, you have to go through Anderson, you have to go through Gallows, then you get up against him. If, of course, you beat Anderson, you then have to immediately go against Gallows. If you beat him, you have to then immediately go up against AJ. You could have weeks, you could have months of open challenges where people can't get past the first guy. And that really makes that championship worth fighting for, because by the time you get to AJ, you've got no chance. But imagine being in that crowd when you see the first 2 lose for the first time in like 4 months. Someone's actually going up against AJ. And they don't do it, but they're close. That would really heat it up for me. And that, for me, is what AJ Styles should have been doing in that position. I'd have loved it. Megan says, it seems to me that Grayson Waller has filled the role they wanted Austin Theory to fill, as a young, overconfident, smarmy heel who gets beat a lot. Yeah, there is definitely a lot of fair comparison between Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. I'd imagine it's why they've kept them as apart as they have. Spot on AJ, that's where I was going. It says AJ should be the guy at the top of a tower, Mortal Kombat style. I would love that. I mean, that would be fantastic. This is a weird commercial. What's a Meg? That shark had tentacles. I don't understand what's happening. Yeah, that's what I would want for AJ, and I think it would really get him back on track. Sly says, Miz got off to a bad start in WWE. Knew nothing of the sport, tried to blag it. Infamous references to Bruno San Martino. And a terrible character. He's turned it around, though. He has. He's living proof that no matter where you start, you can turn it around. Thomas says, surely LA Knight wins the Battle Royal. I mean, they're definitely building him that way. Joey says they should build Kross up for a US title match. Could also work. Daniela says, I like the Lashley segment, especially when they said Dawkins need to dress more stylishly. Then later with the clothing line came in. I am a little upset that we didn't get to see him in a suit. That's all I'm saying. Joey says, Waller feels like Fury, except Waller has more charisma. That's certainly your opinion. James says it's like Brock when he came back. No one seemed to really like him. Now he's just that guy, even though he's a heel. Everyone seems to really like Brock. Respect is there. Respect is there. Yeah, I got sidelined there a little bit, Peter, didn't I? So says, Tom, your shows with Nick have been really strong lately. Do you have a theme planned for tomorrow's? I didn't realise you were a listener, Si. I appreciate that. Tomorrow's show will be the SummerSlam predictions and preview show. We always do that a week before the show, because if we did it on our on the show right before SummerSlam, you'll probably be listening to the show after the event. Doesn't quite work. So tomorrow will be our SummerSlam go home show, our predictions show as well. That's Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure on the PW Touch Daily Cast for those interested. We have hit 2,561 subscribers. A big thank you to all of the 6 people who've subscribed during this show and all of the 10 people who've subscribed so far today. I very much appreciate all of you, and that little commitment really does guarantee more growth on this channel, and I really do appreciate it. We're also currently sitting at 29 likes. If you've not yet done so, please be my number 30. It's been a good show, and I don't necessarily mean SmackDown. SmackDown's been okay. I'd say okay, close to good. I'd be like wavering a little bit on the scale. This show's been good though. I've really enjoyed this. James thinks Brock should have stayed as the cowboy. Me too. I really liked it. Leon says, I honestly think the PC messed Theory up. I loved his work in Evolve, but his work in WWE hasn't been it. That unfortunately has been a bit of a recurring theme when it comes to the PC. It's important to the WWE that you learn the WWE way. That hurts some wrestlers. Oh, of course it is. So it says, lapsed returning Torch subscriber. That's where I found this channel. Quite a lot of people actually found this show via Nick and Tom's, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to mine more of Wade Keller's contacts and Wade Keller's fans. Have no concern with that whatsoever. What I will say is that the PW Torch YouTube has been taken over by Wade Keller with Zach Haydorn leaving. It's a different experience, I'll tell you that. We'll see where it goes, because I don't think he has time for it. And he's certainly not going to reach out to me. Thomas says, what's your prediction of the Great American Bash? Baron Corbin retaining. It's literally the only match I know on the card. I don't follow it. Chris says, I usually listen to prediction shows after the show just to see how right or wrong people are. For the longest time, I wrote the prediction article on PW Torch, and it was called Tom Gets It Wrong. Of course, that worked against me, and ended with a reputation as the guy who's always getting it wrong, which has followed me around since. Megan says, this is where I think New Japan has the right idea of sending the young lions on excursion, let them learn other ways to see what works for them. And it gives us shows like Dominion, where we saw Tsuji, Master Wato. We saw new generation come through. When they're ready, they know how to make it work. Sai says, to be clear, I subscribed to Torch for Nick and Tom and Todd Martin, that's all. Fair enough, Sai, I appreciate that. Not the only person who's told me that. Let's just say myself and Nick are extremely proud of the work that we do and the content we create. And let's just leave it there. James says, they just said Roman has no champion's advantage. Does that mean if Solo interferes, Roman won't get a DQ? I'm not sure. The suggestion definitely is that it's going to be a no DQ element. Grayson Waller teasing The Rock could be seen as an attempt to make The Rock come wrestle him. I'd be interested to see if that actually happens. I don't think it's gonna. It's The Rock, innit? Gomar says, I believe I found your channel through my recommendations. Then I've done a very good job of my SEO, haven't I? Kyle's interested in the idea of Paul Heyman guiding Karrion Kross, so Karrion Kross will become a Paul Heyman guy. I ain't hating it. The match momentum has slowed down a little, the crowd trying to keep it going. Joey says, Bet Zero News will be all over that. Well, they do like to mention The Rock. I mean, a spear from Jay. I mean, we all remember The Rock winning the Royal Rumble early this year, of course. The stare down between he and Stone Cold Steve Austin afterwards. I remember my video on Stone Cold Steve Austin absolutely not being at WrestleMania, getting quite a lot of views at the time. That should be a win for Jey Uso, and indeed it is. Keep your eye on Solo Sikoa, who's actively moving around the ring. Jay needs to make sure he doesn't turn his back right now. Okay, now I realise what they're trying to do. Wade Barrett just saying when Jey Uso is in the main event, he has an extra kick. Well, he's in the main event for SummerSlam. During the replay, Solo Sikoa attacked. Solo asking permission from Roman Reigns to spike And it looks like this week, Jey will be laying down. Chris says, OLE directed me to here. Didn't mean to add the question mark. No need to worry, mate. Yeah, OLE have been very good to me. I have attempted to be good to them as well. I love that about Roman. When he gets turned around, he slips. He loses his footing and it just buys that moment of time. He's just a very good wrestler. Jey Uso is not the one on his back the end of SmackDown this week. I'm guessing he'll be there next week. Solo. Solo protects Roman. Chris says you've been good to us over there. I try my best, mate. I mean, you do good work. What's not to like, you know? You're basically my sister site. You do the Raw watch-along, so I don't have to. Lovely Uranagi from Solo Sikoa. Who needs a Rock when you have Solo, you know? Jey is going to finish the night on his back. Spike incoming, though Roman is getting up. Looks like he's not going to stop it this time. Who the hell is screaming? Because they need to stop. Who is screaming? They're screaming, fight back Jey, and their voice is horrible. It's real to them, damn it. They're going to do the spear into the Spike, which their timing is just lovely. Like, if a spear can beat you, then a spear and a Spike. Oof. Leon says a Spike spear combo is ultra high quality content. Sean says no, Odyssey Jones looked like Boozer got it wrong. Did Boozer report that it was going to be this week? Like, I always double check these little tidbits. Sometimes people are told they're wrong even when they're right. I know that. The referee's in the ring. I don't know why. Roman shaking his belt, waving it about. Yeah, what's going on here? Jimmy? Oh, he's reacting to the crowd. The crowd chanting, "You got pinned," at Roman Reigns. Like you tapped out, but with an actual pinfall. Pete says, great show, Tom. Catch you soon. Catch you soon, Peter. Glad you enjoyed it. See you again soon. Oh, they're going to do it again. So one more time. And they realise they got more time than they expected. A lovely view of Grayson Waller just laying down on the outside. He's got his arm over his face, but he's got an eye on the show. Very Sergio Busquets. And Roman celebrates the demolition of Jey Uso. I did say keep an eye on Solo Sikoa, Jey. You should have heard me. So this at least is definitely built to SummerSlam. Sai says, thanks, Tom, and all SummerSlam incoming. And Leon says, have a nice night, Tom. Chris says, Odyssey is a Raw guy, isn't he? Yes, he was drafted to Raw, but there are reports from BWE, or Boozer, that he's going to debut on Smackdown. We'll see what actually happens there. Joey, I actually didn't watch many pay-per-views in the 2000s. I stopped watching wrestling for about 14 years. Daniela says, I like how Waller's just in the background next to the announce table. That has been our SmackDown. We are finishing the night on 722 views, which is absolutely lovely. 29 likes as well. And honestly, I've just had an absolutely fantastic time. It's just a great way to have a night. A great way to have a night. Like, I enjoy wrestling, but I enjoy it more with company. That's the reason I started this. I wanted to watch the Royal Rumble with my friends like I used to do. So I started this stream. And I had basically just Ed. And over time, that's changed. We've grown. And now, I watch SmackDown every week with my friends. We'll be back on Monday. We'll, of course, have shorts in the meantime that you may want to check out. But when it comes to the Tom Colohue Lives, that is it for now. Thank you to all of you. I've been Tom Colohue. You have been fantastic. And I'll see you all very soon.